The eagle has landed, or turtle has landed. Otis has made it back to New Jersey, to Garden State Tortoise with us after going on a 2,000+ mile journey to Orlando, Florida, where you guys, if you watched last week's video, got to see him in action at AnimalCon USA 2024. This was the ultimate test to see if Otis could actually do well going on a long journey, because up until now, we've only taken him on local journeys where we bring him out for educational outreach. This turtle really has proven to us and to many that he is the ultimate educational ambassador for turtles, and especially eastern box turtles, which are some of the most familiar and beloved turtle species from the United States. And well, now they're really pretty much beloved across the planet. So Otis really kind of sparked a lot of interest in turtles, which is amazing, because that's what we're always trying to do here. We're trying to educate, get the word out about them, both in conservation and preservation. And it was awesome to see so many of our friends, who are some of the biggest content creators out there, interact with him, even if it meant they were getting bit by him. Ah! Oh! Oh! Ow! 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 What did the sign do to you? What do you say, bud? You ready to go back in your enclosure and enjoy life here, play in your pond a little bit? I think you deserve it. The entire time that Otis was on this journey with us, not once did he shut down. The whole car ride, he was terrorizing our kids. And as soon as we got to the resort in Orlando, Florida, he hit the ground running, literally and figuratively. So, you have really done well, dude. Congratulations. You are absolutely incredible. I wish you knew what I was saying. But I think it's time that you just get back to normal life here at GST, and you really deserve it. There you go, dude. Back at home and ready to film even more content with us, because he never, ever stops acting like this. Otis, the eastern box turtle, is truly a fantastic example of his species, because a lot of male eastern box turtles are colored like him, but his personality, his charisma, and his willingness to be so outgoing allows us to use him as such an incredible educational tool. And I mean, that's a 1 in a million. You know, the hundreds of thousands of turtles and tortoises that Casey and I have worked with our entire lives at this point, not one has ever proven to be anything like Otis. And if you weren't there this year, well, maybe we'll see you there next year. Just use the link in the description to check out what the event is all about. And in the coming months, they will release the dates for AnimalCon 2025. But we just got home. There's so much going on here. We were gone for a long time. We actually got stuck down there a little bit because of Hurricane Milton. And well, there's a lot of work to be done around here. And not to mention, it got unseasonably cold. So we need to get out there and intervene. All right. So we got a problem. It got too cold too soon for some of the tortoises that are still outside here in New Jersey. What I mean by too soon is, usually we can leave these animals outside without intervention until we are well into November. I often tell people we don't really start bringing some of these exotic species in until Thanksgiving. Well, unfortunately, we're experiencing a 3-day cold snap where our nights are already getting down into the 40s, but the temperatures are coming back up. Which means we're not going to bring the animals inside for winter yet. We're going to intervene by offering them a heat source. Obviously, outdoor keeping wherever possible for as long as possible is going to be the most beneficial thing for any turtle or tortoise. So we don't want to bring them inside prematurely. We want them to stay outside under the sun. But when it comes to a species like the Indian star tortoise, yes, they can experience cold, but not prolonged cold. And if it gets wet and cold, that could be an issue. So we're going to offer them a heat source so that they can stay at a safer temperature. So this is the Indian star tortoise pen. Indian star tortoises come from India. Now, all of these tortoise species are capable of experiencing cold, but it's important that it's a dry cold and not always a wet cold, because that's when you can end up with these respiratory issues. But a lot of keepers absolutely freak out when temperatures drop, and what you're not understanding is that's actually normal, and in some cases actually beneficial for the animals, because fluctuations in temperature can actually be triggers for the animals, like for breeding, for example. So here you go. This is the cold frame that we have installed for our Indian star tortoises, and the polycarbonate panels at the top have the sunlight pass through, and it keeps these animals very warm. But the challenge is that the temperatures are just a little bit too cool for mid-October right now. They're gonna come right back up to the 80s tomorrow, but we need to intervene so that these animals don't get too cold for too long, because there's already been 2 cool days. Now they know this is the warm spot to go to. So all I'm gonna do is install a heat lamp right here, and it'll just do the work for you. So the first thing I wanna do is, of course, inspect the animals and make sure that they are all right, and they are. We've got no runny noses. They are cold to touch, but they're still reactive. You can see she's withdrawing into her shell. She's not just limp. Good weight. Same thing with this beautiful boy right here. And I'll go through them, make sure that they are all doing fine, because if I do see an issue, a health issue, then of course, you're not gonna just go give them a heat lamp. You're gonna need to bring them indoors to make sure that they are all right. This guy's really sealed up. He withdrew right away. And you know, you're looking for things like discharge in the eyes or discharge from the nose and mouth. That's a sign of a respiratory infection. We are as clean as a whistle. So all we need to do, and this is great for you guys to see, because sometimes things happen and you're in a pinch. How do you react that quickly? Let's face it, sometimes meteorologists are completely wrong and you have less than 24 hours to do something. Well, here you go. All you want to do is just install a heat lamp for these things, because they're still getting sunny days. This is a simple L-shaped bracket that's made by various reptile companies, and it's meant to hang a light. So some of the work is already done here for you, and they are adjustable. But what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and put it inside here. I've removed some of the substrate so that we can lay it flat, and then I'm going to pinch it down with some slate rock so that nothing can move it. The reason this works for this species is because Indian star tortoises are not deep burrowers. They're not going to disturb this light in any way. They're just going to hang out underneath it. Something like a Russian tortoise, for example, would try to dig right underneath this. This thing could fall over and cause a fire. But this is meant to do something in a pinch when you have to act quickly. Obviously, you can install a permanent light in here by using woodwork. So now I can just adjust it so that it doesn't protrude too far to where the greenhouse can't close, but I can keep the light at a safe distance. You can also adjust it from here if you want to bring the bracket out a little bit more, which that's about where I want it anyway. Simple light with a ceramic holster here that you can pick up from Home Depot or Lowe's, and a brooder light. You can attach a chain to this part and easily hang it. Now, we don't want the light being too close to the tops of their shells, because tortoises are smart. However, if they fall asleep into a deep sleep under the light, they can actually get burned. So that's important to take into consideration. Also, you'll notice this greenhouse is not fully closed in. They always have an entranceway so they can easily exit and come right back in. That is crucial, especially in the summer months, because these things get so hot. You can also put this up to ventilate it, get some of that heat out. But on days and nights like we're having lately, this needs to be closed with the heat lamp on, especially at night. Once the sun hits the enclosure, the sun and the polycarbonate panels do all the work for you. So we just need to make sure that these animals can easily warm up. Plug it into an extension cord that's made for outdoor use, and then run that extension to an outdoor outlet. So the tortoises will find their way to this and be able to thermoregulate, moving away from it easily, moving under it easily. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to actually leave the cable like this right here, because this particular greenhouse that's made by OutSunny, and you could purchase it on Amazon, has a nut and bolt here that allow you to lock the lid into place. So it's not going to go anywhere, and it doesn't pinch the wire or the cable too hard so that you're running an issue there. And it adds just a little bit more of ventilation, because as I said, we're not out of the warmth yet. We're just dealing with a little cold spell right now. So that's that. I will check on our Indian stars in a little bit to make sure that they're resuming activity. They all look great, so they just need a little warm up, a little bit of intervention. And yeah, that's that. Aha. This is what I was hoping we would see. I wanted to show you guys this species because it highly contrasts the Indian star and where it comes from. This dusty little guy is a Western Hermit's tortoise. Now, in their native ranges of Italy, France, and Spain, they're experiencing almost exactly what we are getting here in South Jersey. Days that are going up into the 70s and 80s, but the nights that are cooling all the way down into the 60s, 50s, and sometimes 40s. This is a hibernating or brumating species. So these animals stay outdoors year round. They do not need intervention in the form of heat lamps, but they do have cold frames that they can go in and out of to thermoregulate. But then once the temperatures really drop and don't come up anymore, these animals will sleep underground for upwards of 4 months. Sometimes only 3.5, but usually about 4 months. So these animals will disappear sometimes around Thanksgiving, and then we'll see them again in March. Pretty incredible. He looks amazing, and he's got some grass hanging out of his mouth. Why? Because they are still feeding. Really, really awesome. And he's warm. He's so warm. Even though it's cool out right now, that sun is doing its job. So let's let him go. Now, depending on the species will determine if it lives its life outdoors permanently here or if it comes inside part of the year, like the Indian star tortoises. But there are some species that live their lives exclusively indoors here for very good reason, and we've got to get started with a build for one right now. Once again, our friends over at Toad Ranch have sent us a beautiful custom-built enclosure for a special turtle species. Toad Ranch makes amazing stuff, and they've been helping us complete this indoor reptile building for us over the last few years. So this next one is gonna go right here in this spot. It's gonna butt up against this one, and it's gonna start to complete this wall of Toad Ranch enclosures. Now, the animal in here, no. You guys don't get to see it yet. The animal in here has very specific needs, and Toad Ranch has gone the extra mile to make sure that this animal gets everything it needs. So I gotta move everything down, shift things, and start bringing the pieces to assemble this enclosure in one by one. Shelf is cleared. Now we got to start bringing the enclosure in. So these Toad Ranch enclosures are so big and so heavy, they actually require a special carrier service to deliver them to your home. This one's a little bit different for me already. Some of it's been assembled. I'm not even sure what I'm looking at it yet, but I'm sure it's cool. So this one's a little bit different for me. We've had all different style Toad Ranch enclosures built for us. Everything from, your simple rectangular enclosure to basically a polydarium. And they always give you directions and all the hardware you need to put this thing together. Really all you need is a screwdriver, or if you're a cheater like me, a screw gun. Cliffhanger shelf, okay. That's what I was looking for. Drywall screws. That's all you need to start assembling this. Here's your bottom. Another great thing about Toad Ranch is they label all the parts for you so you're not playing guessing games, because some of the pieces look very similar to others and you can get confused. Everything's been pre-drilled for you too, which is nice. And it goes right into place. So Toad Ranch enclosures are not just another simple PVC enclosure. This kind of stuff is really awesome. It's the same products that are used in marine architecture, for example. And they're really sturdy. They can handle a lot of humidity, so you don't have to worry about ruining it. It's not like a wooden enclosure or anything. They're safe with appropriate lighting and heating sources. And they're surprisingly lightweight. Okay, so we've got our right side in. Now, I think, back panel. So we're gonna have to lay this thing forward. Big enclosures like this may require more than one person, so you might wanna get a helper. My helper is busy videotaping this. Did I just say videotaping?
Yeah, that was so like retro.
That was so dad. That was awesome. Little help here.
With what?
I can't drop it because I can't see. There we go. Okay. Oh, you're in the perfect spot there. We have to stand it up because the screws go from the bottom into the thin sides. Toad Ranch is excellent at making sure that the animal you're trying to house has its specific requirements met. And they even can go as far as providing the right destinations background, meaning that the background they provide you with is actually where the animal comes from in nature. All right, we are in place. We've got quite a bit more to do, but this enclosure is gonna provide this animal with both a land area and a water area, which is why you see the backdrop end there. We're actually gonna be installing a tank in here to create that water area, and we're gonna have an underwater viewing window because the species that's going into this enclosure is something you're gonna have to wait for next week's video.